What's up, guys? Welcome back to All Gains Mindset. We get you on the grind and improve your mind. So in this video, we're going to dissect this guy who's on this podcast who did this thing. It'd be a good life lesson to teach you guys. Let's find out what we're talking about in this video now. Alright guys, so I don't think we've ever really covered any specific case study of anyone before on YouTube, but there's this dude named Jack Murphy, and he was on this You Are Here podcast, Elijah Schaefer, and things were going cool, it was alright, and then he basically snapped because she was reading Super Chats, and she mentioned this article that he wrote from years back, and his reaction is a good life lesson of how not to be a man. Basically a lesson on what not to do in certain situations. So let's play the clip and understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I will put up the clip right now, and we will get into it. Let us go.
Mr. Dick and Balls says, "Hey, Jack."
See, that's what she does. She does this. Like, she reads it like that's normal. Like, she's not even saying, I'm not going to skip the name. She just goes, Mr. Dick and Balls said.
Could you please clear up the cuck article you wrote?
I am not going to talk about this.
Okay.
And basically, you know what? Fuck you for bringing this up right here and right now. Why are you doing this to me?
I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was.
Well, just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Elizabeth,
Heartfelt.
Elizabeth Harrison says, gonna miss the show, but have a good...
What happened here is he pretty much lost his cool on a public podcast and started cursing, which was not a good idea, guys. I don't really know who he is. This video was brought to my attention. He's a guy who promotes masculinity, I guess, and he has a whole group online where you can join his group of men, and you can be a better man by following this guy. So it's important to note that you really need to be careful who you follow. Like, we're not really gurus. We just sort of work here on YouTube. You know, we're just rising stars, I guess you could say. But there are guys out here who promote these things, and then they do not set the example. So him losing his cool like that and just cursing at this woman on a public podcast like that is exactly what you should not do. He lost his temper. He started behaving in a very immature way. Just from a comment, you know, whether he explicitly said, don't talk about this before, this is still a very improper way of handling it. As a man, you could have been like, he could have brushed it off like very easily, like with some comical humor. Be like, we don't need to talk about that. It's something I did a long time ago. You know, the article he's referencing is, we might look at it. It's from like 2015. So it's like, he could have been like, that was a long time ago. I've changed since then. It's just some crazy stuff that I wrote. He could have brushed it off, but instead he got a little emotional in there. He lost his cool, started cursing at this woman. She was more of a man than him in that situation because she was able to handle it. Like, she was nonchalant about it. She's like, oh, sorry. And then they just continued on. There was no like, oh my God. Yeah, she didn't start like yelling at him and cursing at him. Like, she just, remained cool. So she was actually more of a man than he was in that moment. It's a really telling thing. It's a life lesson because you need to be able to handle certain situations sometimes without losing your temper and losing your emotional self-control. So that's one of the main things about being a man, is being able to hold your emotional temper.
They were even talking about it before she even said the question. Is that, like, when she says the questions out loud and, tells people's names, like, she doesn't think about what it is and what she's saying, because, like, even the person that sent in that question, the person's name was Mr. Dick and Balls, and she literally said that. And so they were having this conversation just before she even asked the question about how people will send in all these crazy things, and, like, she doesn't know what she should actually be asking and what she should be asking. And so so anything that someone sends in there, she just ends up reading it. Yeah. And so that's what happened with this specific thing. So she did it on accident. He freaked out, and all she said was, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then that was the end of it.
Yeah, and then I think at the end he ended up just walking off and saying, go F yourself, whatever. So not very inappropriate way of handling things. I think they resolved it afterwards, but but then what happened is the follow-up thing, we're not going to review that, but basically, we're not going to go too in-depth, but basically after that, people started being, who is this guy? And then they started researching him, and then they ended up finding him and his old, I don't know if it's ex or something or whatever. They found this dude, he was on Chatterbait at one point, and he was shoving stuff up his butt, and he was doing a bunch of things. So people literally, because of this one little outburst, people decided to start researching him and questioning his. It was only after he had to see. It was like it was that one thing that he did caused the whole downfall of his whole reputation. He started losing followers, subscribers, and people in his group that pay for his help. I don't know. It's very interesting because that one little outburst costed him possibly his whole career, just because he lost his cool. This all could have been avoided, and if he had just calmed down and not handled it in the way he did. And now people are researching him. They're getting more dirt on him. One day can change your entire life, your entire career. So you really need to be careful about how you interact with people and not to lose your emotional temper, because it can cause a whole bunch of problems.
Just one moment, like one misstep of like your actions can really do damage. And that's what happened to him with this specific thing. Like, he could have played it off really well if he was really mentally there and mentally like,
yeah, if he is who he said he is,
he could have just brushed it off. Like, granted, like, he's this guy and we're just some guys on YouTube, but at least I believe that if someone came up to us and was trying to get some type of dirt on us, we'd just play it off, or we would just brush it off.
You have to, because if he just owned it. He just owned it. Yeah, I wrote that, whatever. Like, it's just a simple solution. But it doesn't sound so simple in execution, does it? Because he did obviously handle it in a horrible way, and now it's going to cost them possibly some money, some networking opportunities, like anything you do on the internet can and will be used against you if necessary. So you need to really understand social charisma, understand how to control your emotions and your attitude, because it could really cost you. And it's a very important life skill to learn, especially as a man. Well, you really need to be able to keep your cool. It's going to cost you if you're not able to handle it. So this is an important case study that everyone should learn from and understand.
I can just see it now. Someone, like, if we ever do a live stream and someone puts in the comments asking a question, Mike, I saw in 2019 that you were in Florida and you had 5 bags of McDonald's in your car. I'd be like, okay, I was on vacation. Cool. Like, I don't have to freak out and be like,
Yeah, F
like,
you, yeah.
Yeah,
F you, I don't like McDonald's,
Like, fuck you. I don't eat McDonald's ever. Fuck you. Like, no. Like, I don't do that. Like, yeah, I had McDonald's when I was on vacation. So what? I come home and I don't eat McDonald's. Like,
the worst part was that he tried to basically just escape from what he did. If he just owned it, he would have it would have saved him so much trouble. So if you're a man and you're living life, just own what you've done in the past and understand that you're always trying to get better. Simple as that. But I guess it's not that easy for everybody.
Yeah, and like, this is not to throw shade at him or anything. This is more of just trying to show the actions that he took, that they weren't the right ones, and he probably knows this already, especially since he's lost X amount of followers and a lot of money probably. He probably already knows that this is the case. And we're just trying to show that he could have done something better. He probably knows that. He probably regrets it, but there's nothing he can do now. It's the actions that he made are the ones that now define him.
Yeah, so if you guys thought this was interesting or have any thoughts on this topic, make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about this whole charade. Hit the like button if you have not already. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and we will see you guys in the next video.